Hi, I'm Christy and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm here with 10 recent single parent romances I read and if I think they're worth it or not. So this is a series I've been doing on my channel recently that I just love to do. So it's basically where I tell you 10 recent reads that I read, like based off of their trope or subgenre or kind of like a micro trope, and then I tell you if I thought they were worth it or not. So that's basically the gist of the series, and I have a whole playlist of the other ones I've done so far as well. So I will link that in the description of the video. And in today's video, I am doing the 10 recent single parent romances that I've read and if I think they're worth it to pick up or not. Of course, as always, if you ever want to see more of my thoughts or full reviews on any of the books that I read, I have reviewed every book that I read, and my Goodreads is always linked in the description of the video. That's where I review books. Also down there, I will link all of the books, the titles, and the author's names of the books I'm talking about in the video, so that if you miss any and want to go back and see which ones I was talking about, they're all linked down there as well. So with all of that out of the way, let's get into these 10 recent single parent romances. First up is First Time Caller by B.K. Borison. So if you've seen me talk about this book recently in other videos, I think you're going to know that my answer for this one is going to be an absolute yes, you should read it. This one I just love so much. It's one of my favorite new releases for the year so far. This was also my first 5-star read for the year, so I just love that so much. So I love this one. This is a single mom romance where the heroine in here is a car mechanic as well as a single mom to her daughter. And basically in here, this is kind of like a Sleepless in Seattle vibe. The hero is a host of a radio show which is called Heartstrings, and he's supposed to talk about kind of dating advice and love and things like that. And so he has recently kind of fallen out of the idea of love, and so he's having a hard time with his channel when one night the heroine's daughter calls in and is like, hey, I want dating advice for my mom. She's single, she needs to find somebody in her life. So it kind of goes from there where the heroine, the mom of the daughter, jumps onto the call, and then that conversation kind of goes viral. And so basically the hero is going to help the heroine with dating and also help his channel out, help her out. And so it goes from there where of course he falls for her, and it's just so swoony and sweet. If you want a very sweet, slow burn kind of romance, this one is definitely that. I loved it so much. Single mom, so good. I love this one to pieces. Highly recommend picking it up. Next up is Protect by Paisley Hope. So this was a book part of the Skyridge Hotshot series, which was a wildfire firefighter series that 3 different authors collabed on. They all have books in the series. This was my favorite in the series. It's the second book. They're all standalones. They just kind of exist around the same firefighter crew. This one's going to be a yes for me. This one is the one I would actually recommend reading from the trilogy, the series. This is the one I love the most. So in this one we have a single mom heroine, and the hero was her brother's best friend. He was also her friend, kind of like they had a little bit of a moment back in high school. And so basically in here, the heroine is now a single mom. She is a nurse, and the hero is a firefighter. So the heroine has kind of always lived around these wildfire firefighters. Like her father was one before, her brother was as well, who he actually passed away with a wildfire. So that's kind of a focus of the story because her and the hero were both really close to her brother. And so now she is going through a divorce and she moves back to her hometown, which is where the hero lives. And so he is now back in her life, and he has always felt a certain way about her. And so he thinks this is the perfect chance to kind of get into her good graces again. And it is just so cute. I love the heroine's daughter in here. The hero, especially with her daughter, is the sweetest thing ever. He is so just endearing and cute, and all these sweet little tender moments between them of him just talking to her and getting to know her and watching her favorite shows with her and eating her favorite snacks on the couch with her. Just so stinking cute. If you want the child as a primary kind of focus of the book or featured in the book, this one definitely has that. Love the relationship between the hero and the heroine. Like I said, it's a bit of a second chance, and they've known one another for quite some time, and so we get flashbacks as well. Love this one. Highly recommend picking up Protect by Paisley Hope. Next up is Stolen Chances by Cleo Evans. I don't have a copy of this one, so I think you can kind of guess where my answer is going to lie. So this one's going to be a maybe, but also kind of a no from me. This is the second book in this author's Citrus Cove series, which is a small town romantic suspense, a very spicy series. Book 1 in the series I loved last year, which was Broken Beginnings. This one, though, was a bit of a miss for me. This one is an MMF, a poly kind of menage situation where the heroine is a single mom to her 2 sons, and you have kind of seen some of the suspense elements that applied to her story in the previous book in the series, but you'll also see it in this book as well. And so it kind of goes from there with the 2 heroes being parts of her life for different reasons, and the 2 heroes are drawn together, and they're both individually as well as all of them connected to one another and attracted to one another as well. So it goes from there. This one, I feel like it was just very easy. So I guess if you're in the mood for a low angst, kind of menage poly situation, this one is definitely that. For me personally, I just felt like it was a little bit too insta-love, insta-lusty, and very much just too easy. I needed some more depth to the characters, to their situation. I don't know, I needed more. So this one maybe, but like probably a no from me. Next up is Give Me Butterflies by Jillian Meadows. So this was the indie cover that the author actually sent to me a couple of years ago when it first came out, and I had never gotten to it at the time. I'm going to put up the new cover here because I think it is stunning because it has since been traditionally published. And so I'm so glad I waited because the audiobook for this one was fantastic. So this one's going to be a yes from me. And this one we have the hero who is a single dad or a guardian to his two nieces. This one as well, we have kind of a workplace relationship where the hero and the heroine are both museum curators. So if you are very much into like museum settings, science-y, kind of like nerdy conversations, this one is definitely that. I thought it was so cute and fun, and I love the connection that the hero and the heroine have for one another. This one is one of those where I really enjoy, where the hero is a bit of a grump or kind of comes off as a grump, but he is secretly a cinnamon roll. So if you love heroes like that, the hero for this one is definitely that. We just get a lot of like very cute moments between these two. Like I said, they're both very much scientists, and so we get a lot of that played into the story. We also get some found family as well, with the heroine's parents very much taking in the hero and his two nieces that he's raising and just kind of like bringing them into the fold. I adored this one. It was so cute. There are some content warnings in this one for grief, loss of a loved one, and there are some previous mentions of abuse in the past, gaslighting, kind of things like that. So just know that going in. The author, I think, does provide them at the beginning of the story. So if you need them, definitely take a look. But I enjoyed this one. I have read, I think, 2 books now from this author, and this is definitely my favorite from her. So yeah, really enjoyed this one. And the cover is gorgeous. So this is definitely a yes. Next up is The Love Lyric by Christina Forrest. So this is the 3rd book in her Green Sisters series. This series I've really enjoyed. The 1st book I loved. 2nd book was okay. This 3rd book was also good for me. So this one's going to be a yes as well. The heroine in this one is the single mom, and she is an executive as well for kind of like a beauty or skincare kind of business. And the heroine here is a famous R&B star. And so they kind of are around one another. Like they had a moment in the past where I think they were at a wedding together. And so they kind of like got to know one another. But now since then, years have passed and his career has really blown up. So she basically wants to get him as the new brand ambassador for their kind of beauty skincare line. And so they end up doing that. So there's a bit of like workplace, kind of working together situation. I adored this one. I love in here how it was just very low angst, and the hero and the heroine really wanted to get to know one another on kind of like a deeper level, which I appreciate. It wasn't just about like the attraction and the lusty feelings. I mean, they definitely had that, but it was also more of just like wanting to get to know that person on a kind of daily level. Like the hero sends texts to her to just kind of like check in. How are you doing? What'd you eat today? Like, what kind of things do you like? Like just these very real conversations, which I feel like are a great start to an actual like real relationship. So I appreciated that, and I loved seeing them kind of get to know one another, become friends, obviously fall for one another. Really enjoyed this one. This is a yes from me. Next is My Darling Mayhem by Ashley Munoz. This one's going to be a yes from me as well. I feel like I've just been on a roll of really great single parent romances lately. So this one is a kind of 2-part. So the heroine is a single mom, and then the hero is trying to become the guardian, the single parent of his younger brother. So we kind of have both of them being like single parent guardians. This one is a standalone from this author, so it kind of does connect though to 2 of her other series, which are her Rakeforge University series, as well as her Stone Riders MC series. So this book as well kind of has some MC moments because the hero is a president of his MC motorcycle club, and he's trying to get away from that though. So it's set in a small town where the hero is trying to prove to the courts that he is a stand-up guy, like the everyday man, that he can have custody of his brother, that he doesn't live in kind of dangerous situations. And then the heroine as well, she has some dangerous, some unsafe things in her past where she has tried to escape from that. So she just very much wants safety and security for her and her young son, and is trying to start over in this small town. And so now they're neighbors, and his younger brother and her son go to the same school. They're in kindergarten together. So they're very much around one another a lot. Kind of starts off as hate to love, goes from there. I loved in here how they're both wanting a fresh start and to really prove that they can be like a safe, secure environment for their children. And so at first they're attracted to one another, but the heroine is also very much like pushing him away because she's like, you're everything I kind of escaped from, and I don't want that lifestyle like in my son's life. But of course, you know, they can't stay away, and it goes from there. The hero in this one is an absolute cinnamon roll for her, which I love. He's so sweet and caring, but also like broody protective as well. So I really enjoyed their pairing. It has some suspense elements towards the end of it that kind of all those dangers from their backgrounds come into play. Definitely enjoyed this one. Highly recommend checking it out. It recently came out. Next is P.S. You're Intolerable by Julia Wolf. So this is a special edition from Dark and Quirky that they did, I think like last year. It came in a book box that I got. I'm going to put up the actual cover here though, because it is more of the cover that I think people will recognize. So this one's going to be a maybe from me. This one I kind of expected certain things about this book and it didn't really deliver for me. So this is basically a workplace relationship where the hero is the boss, the heroine is his assistant. This has a plus size rep, like curvy rep for the heroine. The heroine in here is also pregnant with somebody else's child when the story starts. And so then it goes into her becoming a single mom as well, because you get to see the birth of her child in the story. This one, like, it was just okay for me. I kind of went in with other expectations. This was the first time I picked up a book from this author. And so it's just very much like sweet and very cutesy and very like syrupy sweet, which isn't always my favorite thing to read. I feel like if you like the tropes I mentioned, this is very like one of those books where it's very straightforward and delivers on all of those tropes I mentioned. So if you're in the mood for that, want kind of like a low angst, very like straightforward story, this one is that. For me, I just needed a little bit more like character depth or something more to the plot, and I didn't get that. I just got like a lot of sweetness. So Sweet Hero just wasn't for me, so a maybe, because if you love the tropes, then you might enjoy this one. Next is Homebound by Meredith Trapp. So this is another one that's going to be a maybe from me, but take into consideration that I have not really enjoyed either book from this author. So if you liked her previous book, which was Icebound, then you might like this one as well. I feel like for me, her writing just doesn't really work. I feel like her books are very bingeable, very much like things you'll highlight and kind of quote for, you know, content on social media. So there is that. I just felt like I needed a little bit more with this one, and like it was a very bingeable, easy read, but nothing like I'll think about later on, if that makes sense. So it's gonna be a maybe. I love the cover for this one. It's so stinking pretty. The author's writing and her characters, like, I just don't think her style is for me. So in this one, the hero is a single dad, he's a hockey player, and the heroine is a bull rider. And so they knew one another as children. Basically, he would always come to her town where she lives and spend summers there at his family's farm. And so they always had these like moments together and were really like childhood friends. And there was always like, he was always pining for her, secretly into her, but she never felt that way about him. She was like, I think just a couple years older, which of course isn't a difference once you're older, but when you're young, like it makes a difference. Like she's 14 and he's 12, like obviously they're not going to be getting together. And so he kind of always secretly crushed on her, but just accepted her as a friend instead. And it was always kind of like also like the wrong time where she was always in a relationship. She was engaged. And so basically he finds out that she's now engaged. And so he returns back, and it's been a few years that she hasn't seen him. And so she was kind of hurt over him leaving because they were such good friends. And now he's back with his baby daughter and has to live with the heroine because she lives like on the property of his family. And so he moves in with her for the summer while they're there. And so he's basically like, this is my chance. She's finally broken up and I'm gonna make my move and prove to her that we should be together. And I just needed a little bit more. And I wasn't a super fan of like the way that the hero's being a father relationship was explored. I don't know. It was just okay for me, but maybe it's just because this author doesn't really work for me. So a maybe. Next up is Church Girl by Naima Simone. So this one is going to be a maybe from me as well. This one, I feel like it was good. It was okay. It definitely delivers on the tropes, but from other books I've read from this author, it wasn't my favorite. So a maybe. This one is a opposites attract, spicy, age gap, single dad, nanny romance. So in here, the hero is a tattoo shop owner and he is a single dad to his daughter. And then the heroine is the daughter of a preacher, and she has run away from her wedding when the story starts. And you see her leaving her small hometown in the South and moving up to Chicago where he lives. And she's going to be going to college, and she ends up becoming the nanny for his daughter. So it's very much opposites attract, because when he first meets her, he doesn't want to hire her. She's like, she's too goody two shoes. She seems very out of her element. Like she's not going to vibe with me, with my child, with this city. But eventually he has to hire her for reasons. And then it kind of goes from there. They very much have this attraction to one another from the start, like spicy, this opposites attract vibe. It is on the shorter side, so there is that. It was like very much delivers on the single dad nanny aspects, but it wasn't anything like extraordinary or set it apart from other books with that trope. So it was okay for me, so a maybe. Next up is Hold Me While You Wait by Kimberly Brown. So this one actually just came on my radar because I recently got in a Hello Lovely box, like special edition of it for their Trope of the Month box, but this original cover I love more, so I'm gonna put that up here. But this book I really enjoyed. This is gonna be a yes from me. I did the audiobook and it was fantastic, on the shorter side and just like very easy to get into. So in here we have a single mom heroine. She is a single mom to her son as well as to her niece that she's the guardian of and raising. And then the hero is a single dad to his daughter. So in this one, it is very much like low angst as far as the relationship between the hero and the heroine, which I really appreciated. They didn't need any other like drama around their relationship because there is some drama around kind of his ex as well as her ex as well. And so that kind of was the drama of the story. But I did really like how that kind of played out for both of their exes and kind of just this like very blended family that they become in the end. So that I did appreciate. So in this one, we see that the hero's daughter and then the heroine's niece that she is raising, they go to school together and they end up meeting on his daughter's first day at the new school because basically basically her niece ends up punching somebody who is bullying his daughter. So the hero and his daughter both have vitiligo, and so we see how her niece is trying to protect his daughter, and so they're both kind of called into the principal's office, and that's kind of how the hero and the heroine start to know one another, and it kind of goes from there. Like I said, the relationship in here was just so easy, very much like the chemistry, you believed in it, and I really liked seeing their connection to one another, and especially to their families, like their children. I love seeing how the whole like blended family came to be, and like I said, I just really appreciated how there was like no angst or drama between them. That was kind of the outside forces instead, but I did really appreciate how those kind of played out as well. So yeah, this one is a yes from me. Really enjoyed it. More emotional as well. There was a couple moments in here where I was starting to get teary-eyed, and I wasn't expecting that. So yeah, this one I did enjoy. All right, so those are the 10 recent single parent romances that I have read, and if I thought they were worth it or not. Definitely let me know in the comments if you've read any of these, or if you have any single parent romances for me. I would love to know. It's one of my favorite tropes to read, so I always love seeing some recommendations for it. And if you'd rather leave me an emoji in the comments today to let me know that you watched this video, leave me a butterfly emoji for Give Me Butterflies. So do that. And like I said, if you missed out on any of the books or the titles, the author names, I have linked them all below for you in the description, as well as the playlist if you want to see some other tropes and recent reads that I've read. So if you haven't done so yet, make sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss out on any of my future videos, and I will see you in my next one. Bye!